So my family history, again, a very middle class upbringing. Both my parents were refugees from Pakistan.
This is part 2 of my conversation with Kanwal Singh of Fireside Ventures. Part 1 was his bet, a fund built only for Indian consumer brands back when the idea sounded absurd. Part 2 is the person behind it, the near decade at Hindustan Lever that gave him his love of consumer, the road from Punjab Engineering College to 35 years in Bangalore, co-founding Helion before Fireside, and a closing answer on how happy he is with his life that he gives without hesitating. Let's get back into it. Let me switch slightly tracks to you. You spent what, close to a decade at Hindustan Lever?
Yes.
Early on in your career.
Yes.
How much of your conviction about consumer was formed during your work at Hindustan Lever, and if so, what was it? What happened there?
No, so I think my love for consumer is all because of my lever. So I would say conviction, love, desire to play in the consumer space all came from levers, because that is like, that's like a school. You learn everything from marketing, distribution, how to build businesses, all in the school called Hindustan Lever. And I was fortunate because I was also working on some R&D programs with the R&D center. So I could also work on some product development kind of ideas and so on and so forth. So 100%, the consumer love came from seeing it firsthand. Interestingly, my stint at Intel actually was very interesting, because I came into Intel in the late 90s. In the 98, 99.
Into a consumer marketing role.
Into a marketing role, but largely consumer marketing.
Right. This was the heydays of Intel, when people like Intel Inside and Pentium and like all of that,
absolutely.
Right? People have forgotten that. I mean, today people are trying to revive Intel, but there used to be a time when I remember I was part of that cohort, which is which chipset are you getting, which Intel is it, what is its clock speed, etc., and all of that.
So I think there I would say that the translation of consumer learnings to a technology play really happened in that transition. So my brief given by my overall head of India and my marketing head from Hong Kong was saying, we don't want you to sell chips. We have 100% share of the chip market. The market is zero. So we want you to build the market for computers in India. So that was my brief. And that again went back to distribution, that went back to marketing, the Intel Inside program, the bunny people we had from Pentium. So we built a brand of how computing can be fun, but with Intel Inside as the Trojan horse. So that again became, in fact, I use that example with a lot of my companies where you have great product, where I say, listen, think of Intel Inside, how you can bring the beauty of what is inside the package out. And that really worked really hard. So short answer is that, certainly Hindustan Lever informed a lot of my personal love for it. And which is why, like I said in the beginning, I tried doing some of this during my Helion stint also, saying maybe there is an opportunity to build something consumer first, but it required a separate focus, required a separate DNA. So I think finally Fireside happened.
While at Helion, you invested in a beauty salon chain.
YLG, Mastkalandar.
Oh, ID Fresh.
ID Fresh.
Paperboat, was that
Paperboat
at Helion?
was my personal investment. In fact, we decided not to invest from Helion. So I said, I'm putting my own money. Because I had known Neeraj for a long time.
What was the paperboat conviction that you saw back then?
Honestly.
And what is it today?
For paperboat or generally?
Yeah, for paperboat.
See, I think the major conviction was always the founder. And I think that remains today as well. I mean, I would find a good founder who has an idea, because the interesting thing is, and you'll probably remember this, Rohan, Paperboard didn't start out as Paperboard. It started out with an energy drink called Zinga. And I can take hundreds of examples where the first attempt by a founder may not have worked. But the beauty is that if you're backing a great founder, first principle thinker, brings in a lot of, I would say, positive qualities of what a good founder should be. I think they find their way. It's a hard journey, and entrepreneurship is always, that's why I have deep respect for founders. But I would always do founder first. So Paperboard, the conviction was that there was a alternate world out there which would be outside of the sodas, and which could be something very different in terms of consumption patterns. And honestly, the penny fell into place with Paperboard, because you were talking about both healthier drinks, because these were all fruit based, and you were aligning them to culture. So the story of Paperboard and the kind of products they launched and so on and so forth. Today, I think he has found his very strong, let's say, product market fit, in the fact that he is able to now offer you both the same story of Paperboard at the lower point where the large market is through swing, and going up the ladder through products like the zero calorie launches, and again bringing in more exotic flavors, etc., etc. So I believe the company is doing really well.
Interesting. What's your, normally when it's a founder, they typically have, let's say, a CEO title. Now I understand formally your title will not be CEO, right? What would it be? Like,
My title?
Yeah.
Managing partner.
Managing partner. But effectively, if I were to kind of look at you as a founder of Fireside Ventures, it is closest to a CEO, right? Like in the sense, right?
Sure.
So what is it that you add most value to Fireside Ventures as its CEO? This is a question that I ask almost all founders.
Sure. A great question. So it's not a static answer. I would say the first 5 years, so let's say 10 years roughly, so I'm breaking it up, was really about defining the overall philosophy, defining the culture. If I may digress, I want to talk about that, and we can do it now, we can do it later.
No, please.
So I have always believed that 3 core foundation principles define how I want to build Fireside. And like I said, the intent here is great performance, great return to stakeholders, and great legacy of who Fireside is and what we can become. And we actually call this overall overarching belief or philosophy as value of good. And these 3 principles are founder first, and how do we manifest that, and all that I have talked about. It's planet first. So everything.
Notice you mentioned ESG in one of your COE, and I was like, what's a VC in 2026 doing talking about ESG?
I have a very senior person who is a full-time part of my team. Again, the belief is the same, that goodness is not a choice. Goodness is the foundation of doing well. So, in fact, we don't even say do good and do well. We say do good to do well. So what does that mean? That means that we are very conscious about the kind of companies we invest in. Are they harming or are they helping? And it can be environment, it can be society, it can be many things. Second thing we do is, can we move the needle towards better for you, not just products, but for the environment and for society. So to give you an example, we have active programs with our companies on how do we reduce packaging waste. How do we create more recycling capabilities with our companies? Now we are working with them on some material replacement from plastic to more natural, decomposable one. Good news is there is a lot of innovation happening in this space. So choices are becoming available. So that's the second pillar. So founder first, planet first. And the third is One Fireside, which is I talked about the COE and how we are integrating everybody together.
What is one? How would you define One Fireside?
So One Fireside means that as a collective, we can create phenomenal value than as individuals, and therefore no silos, no politics. everybody gets compensated for everyone's success, and we work as many hands delivering great success to the founders, and not necessarily that there's one hero person who's going to do all the heavy lifting, because that's not even possible. So now coming back to what is my role. My role was in ingraining this cultural aspect, building a team which believes in this. So there is a fireside strategy piece, which is how do we help the founders, how do we build the business model. So demonstrating that this model works and showing early success was very important, because otherwise, this could be a nice to do, but it's not a commercially successful venture. I think we have done both, and creating a team which could deliver on that. My last 5 years have been institutionalizing this. So today I have, my partners have very specific roles. They are running large parts of the business directly, so that they have, responsibility for delivering on specific items, whether it is sectoral, whether it is stage-wise investing, and so on and so forth. So we have created this whole, what we call, how do you source, how do you build portfolio, and how do you exit, as an institutional framework. So everything has a way of repeatability, because in our business, and you may have heard this from many people before, it is an apprenticeship business. If I have learned something, it's not just about my ability to deliver, it's also my ability to train the next person and the next person and the next person. So a lot of focus on that. So my role today, if you ask me, looking backwards, is about ensuring that we culturally we are like delivering on this value of good. So that's my KRA for myself, and I have to rate myself on that. It is about saying that to have we created enough institutionalizing so that we can be confident that it was not a flash in the pan. Our first fund did well, our second fund did well, but it can't be that you sit on that and the next 10 years don't matter. And looking forward, a lot of the focus is on where do we go from here. So both as an organization, as strategy, what is the future of Fireside? So I'm taking on a far more stronger position in terms of my role being, the driver of vision, strategy, culture, and training my people to become more and more independent in doing things. So I'm very much here. I go to office at 9:30, I come home at 6:30, but I am not sitting in every company presentation. I'm on the IC, I'm involved with companies, I take board seats. But that initially when we started, literally it was me who was running the boards. Today I have a large team to do that. So the role has evolved much more into a more classic CEO role than operator role.
Got it. Since you mentioned future, and since we're talking about the role of CEOs, I'm very curious how you think about the future of, like, typically when I'm talking to founders, and many founders, like, after that, like, there was this period in India when everyone was just raising money and everyone was only interested in the next round and the next valuation. After that, all founders now seem to have, I want to make this business sustainable. I want it to be around 20 years from now, 50 years from now. I want it to outlast me. I want it to be a legacy. What is that for version for a fund? Because in some senses, like, you've gone through 4 funds. Like, you said it's an apprenticeship business, but also in the sense that it's like a birth and rebirth so there is you don't produce any goods, right? Yeah. You have a brand, but that brand exists so that you can bring in capital from LPs, deploy it, return it. So you're born and reborn. So what is and yet there are venture capital firms from the West that are, many, many decades old, like 50 years, 60 years old and all that. So when you think about the future of a venture capital fund, what does that mean?
So, I'm calling it legacy, we are calling it future, but it's the same concept.
Yes,
I
it's
think
the same.
the underlying philosophy of who you are, and I would put that to any business, your business as well as any business, saying that clarity of saying this is who we are, this is what we stand for, is critical. Whether you invest in X or Y or Z, to me, that is the next level. So that is, to me, the future of Fireside, saying can we be known for just that underlying philosophy of value of good. Therefore, this is a firm which founders want to work with because they deliver on my promise of I can help the founders build a business. I get employees who come and work with me because they believe that they are treated well, that there's a great culture and there's a one fireside concept. And I am doing good for the society. So I feel good about what I'm doing. And it's almost like an imperative in all of us have to follow. So that is I would say, the roots of the tree that we are trying to build here. Second is, what do we want to be known for and what will become our legacy is this extreme confidence that we can become the first choice, first protocol for a founder as a consumer investor. So that conviction to me is that we are sitting in a massive opportunity. Second is, we already have established some credibility as a brand and as success and how we work, but it is a journey. And that journey is never going to end, I feel, for decades. So therefore, how do we strengthen not just our contribution of how we can help, but our understanding? So you may know this, we published 2 reports last year on consumer trends in 2030.
One was recently published?
Both were recently, last year.
I remember reading, yeah.
So consumer in 2030 and
Fairly deep,
Bharat.
I remember reading. Yeah.
Now, again, how do we build thought leadership? How do we build this ability for us? And mind you, this is not something we are creating as a proprietary in-house tool. We are sharing it with the world because right in the beginning, we talked about ecosystem is very important. And that's our belief even today. So therefore, if you ask me what is the future and why would Fireside be there 20 years from now, even if I'm not there, is because we are rooting ourselves in these 2 principles, saying we want to stand for something as a philosophy, as a vision, as a culture, and we want to be the first point of, let's say, protocol or first point of access for a great founder who believes that we are the best partner to work with. And for that, how do we, really show value and how do we stay ahead of what's happening in the market?
Good. Have you ever thought about what Fireside might be? Will it be around 50 years from now? What it might be? Have you ever thought about it?
See, these are the foundations which I think about all the time. So therefore, that reflects in organization, that reflects in how we are building the strategy for the business, that reflects in how we are evaluating ourselves against what benchmarks and all that. Obviously, the nuts and bolts is, how large we are, etc. That is I would say, a very interesting exercise that we are doing even today. To give you an example, our 4th fund, we capped it to roughly the same size as our 3rd fund, which is, since you are counting how we are different, this is the other difference. We did not
Which means that you had the opportunity to raise more, but you chose not to.
I could have raised 2x of this. Genuinely, we could have raised 2x of this.
Why did you not?
Because that is not our strategy. So the question you asked me...
That'll change you, you're saying. That'll change. No, if you raise that 2x, it would change you in some way?
No, it will disrupt what we do well. So not change me, but change our ability to deliver that superior performance. Because when we talked about 10 becoming 20%, that was by design. The size of the fund got defined based on these vectors I talked about, which is, these are the opportunities in the market, these are the number of deals we can do, this is the way we can deliver returns. So we are benchmarking ourselves to ourselves, saying I need to deliver a certain return, and for that return, this is the number of deals I can do in a period of time. See, these are closed life funds. Yeah, I can raise a very large fund and either deploy it very quickly because I have to manage that entire portfolio construct in 3 years, which is almost like there is no choice but to do that. Or I can raise enough money that I feel I am comfortable to deploy in my strategy. Now, if I want to do a later stage deal and if that becomes my strategy and I raise a fund differently for that, that is different. But right now, our focus is on being early stage and, all that value add piece. So the key question for us is that we want to grow in a very disciplined manner. And believe me, investors love it because they are seeing that we are sensitive to their returns. And just raising size of fund is not either bragging right or, that gives us a lot of management fees and therefore that becomes the end objective. We truly believe that we have found our sweet spot. So we don't want to raise funds which are bigger than 2,000 to 2,500 crores. We believe every 3 years we can deploy. If we keep delivering results, we can raise the next fund and the next fund. And that's how the overall, discipline of how we operate comes in. So if
That
you
partly answers my earlier question of what does quote unquote a forever Fireside Ventures look like. You're saying as long as it stays true to what it does best
yes,
and grows relative to what it knows from the past rather than benchmarking itself to
yes,
what somebody else is doing,
yes,
that's a replicable playbook which can continue to run year after year or 3 year after 3 years.
that's what we believe. Absolutely.
Interesting. Now, in your business and for all of your investee companies, the single most important resource is not capital, it's talent,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? Do you have, and I'm sure you interview a lot of people for your own firm over the years, and of course, you're meeting investees. I'm sure you've done kind of interviews for them as well for senior leadership roles. When you're looking for talented people for key roles, do you have any favorite open-ended questions that you ask people?
So first of all, to me, talent, the first criteria is always going to be culture. It's going to be fitment with philosophy of what you believe in, whether it's a company or whether it's
How do you find that out? Like, what do you ask?
So that's my best way to understand a person is to just ask them to talk about their story. So I don't want to. So when somebody starts talking to me about, oh, I did my engineering here and I did my this, I don't want to hear that. Where did you grow up? Who's in the family? What are the values? What do the parents do? What about, your family? If you are doing something very different from the norm, who's supporting you? Because I have seen that journey myself. And I can tell you, it's not, in hindsight, looks very, glamorous that, oh, I moved from levers to Intel to investing. But every time it was a very tough decision. And, for me, unless I had the support of my wife and my children to say, listen, these are crazy ideas, and somebody is, trying to find his own path in the very unique way. I really get my, I would say, that intuitive sense of the person in a very, very casual and a very deep dive understanding of who the person is rather than what their professional qualifications are. I would even argue that to me that trumps the professional qualification, because I believe talent and professional qualifications, you will get many possible candidates, but getting that instinct about the person right and getting their journeys right, you still get it wrong. But even for founder assessment, I use the same. My other interesting thing that I have learned, especially for founder assessments, and I don't know if it's surprising or if it's something very different, is I try and meet the families. So many of my founders, I have actually said, can we have a meal with your spouse? If it's a girl, it can be the husband or the other way around. You just get a good sense of, what is the support system, what is the chemistry. So it is really about observing people in their natural circumstances and how they behave rather than, very structured interview. So that has been my...
Interesting. Both your answers end up referring back to support systems, because your first answer also said, what is your family? Where do you come from? You refer to your own, and then even though this thing of let's meet your family. What is it? What is your learning over all these years of being an entrepreneur yourself and meeting so many dozens and hundreds of entrepreneurs? What are some of the learnings about support systems that you've now internalized as mental models?
See, to me, entrepreneurship is the hardest journey, and it will never be smooth sailing. So it is not that you are getting again, I'm sure in media you see that, worrying about, financing, worrying about people, worrying about, various things. So to me, the biggest learning, as I said, from my own personal experience, but certainly in the context of entrepreneurship, it multiplies multiple times, is to see that are you doing this on a, whim or a fancy where everybody around you thinks that you're doing something crazy. And while, yes, initially people might believe that this is a strange decision, But if you don't have that support system, if you don't have that ability to face those, especially those downswings, with somebody who's still has your back, it can be very difficult. And I've seen that in many circumstances, that that is where the worst outcomes can happen, or people lose hope or completely give up, etc. And people who come out of it and have been very successful, the corollary is also the reverse is true. So therefore, for me, it gives me a very strong confidence, especially for entrepreneurs, on the support system being another validation. That, because see, the other thing which I have completely dislike is the vision of a founder to say, I want to build this XYZ business and I want to sell it in 2 years. It just cannot happen like that. You cannot build to sell.
Especially in a consumer brand business.
Any business, you cannot build to sell. Unless you're sitting in an R&D lab and you're saying, I'm creating, even that I'm saying, you can't have that time horizon. I am saying you build for sustenance, you build for good. And then along the journey, if there's an opportunity to sell, then, that's a business decision which you and your investors take.
It's like that very famous adage of the best businesses are bought, not sold.
Correct.
Like if you built a great business and you're not looking to sell it, there will be people who will want to buy it.
And that is so true. That is so true. So therefore, for an entrepreneur, the fact that you are committing 10 years of your life, the fact that you will go through ups and downs is a given. So therefore, the support system becomes important. But even in the context of people we hire, in the context of people that we work with our companies to help hire, these are still the same questions. That are you committed to this? It is not I will join a large corporate because in 2 years I want to go and do something else. I mean, that attitude is not possible in our industry. Whether it's an entrepreneur or it's a startup or it's a VC. Because in a VC also, when in 2 years, there's nothing you can do. I mean, unless you're there for 10 years, even your own contribution doesn't get visible because it's a long-term game.
What's your own family history?
So my family history, again, a very middle-class upbringing. Both my parents were refugees from Pakistan. So, mother's family settled in Jalandhar in Punjab. Father came to India, came to Bangalore. Oh, sorry. We can scrap that. Came to Delhi. My father actually, I would say, had a great influence on my value system, because he realized, and penniless, landing in India, young child, he realized that the only path to success is education. So himself, imagine somebody who has come from a very different background, almost rural. He just kept on educating himself. He did a BA, he did an MA, he did I think B.Ed, he did a law degree, he did a management degree. And he was working all this while because he had to fend for the family. So that value of, just rigor, discipline, education, you learn, you see the stories, and they really inspire you. So that became in some ways the influence on just that desire. This whole value of good comes from just that belief that in a way, somebody was telling me the other day, you always start by assuming somebody is good, and then you discover whether they are good or not. I'm saying, that is what is wrong with that. So certainly, deep influence. I have a younger brother who's in Delhi, and a younger sister. So I'm the eldest of the three. So in a way, I was the one who moved away from home, because home was Delhi and everybody is still in Delhi.
You went to Punjab Engineering College and
I went
FMS.
to Punjab Engineering College and FMS, but then I joined Levers, and last 35 years I have been in Bangalore.
What's your span of control at Fireside Ventures? How many people end up reporting to you? What does it operate like? This is again like a question that I normally ask founders. I understand it's different in venture capital funds because partners kind of operate on their own. But at the same time, is there such a similar parallel in a fund as well?
I think more loosely. So like I said, certain areas where I have some ability to take positions and take a call. But like I have 4 other partners. So in a loose sense, they report into me as the managing partner. And I have 2 other colleagues, one on strategy and HR and one on corporate development, who dotted line report to me as well as report to another partner. So very limited span of control from wanting to be on top of everything, which is again by design, like I said in the earlier conversation, that I want to build that confidence in my partners and my principals and VPs that they can independently run big parts of the business, and that has always been the desire that you build a lot of bench strength to keep the legacy going.
Got it. Okay. What are the three most common adjectives that your colleagues might use to describe you?
Me,
Yeah.
uh, I think authentic, empathetic, and passionate.
Oh, that's a three very interesting set of. Now, if I stopped like someone on the road and said these are the three words, would you use them to describe a venture capitalist? I'm not sure they will,
Rohin, you've
but
known
yeah.
me long enough. You know,
Yeah,
you know.
I
Me.
do, I do.
So I mean, this, and when I said authentic, I meant it authentic. So none of this
Yeah,
has
I mean,
I'm
all our
posturing.
conversation up till now has been leading up to that as well. What does a productive day for you look like at the end of the day? Like, it's you said 6:30, the day is done, and you feel, wow, that was a great day.
Sure.
What would have happened that day?
See, my joy still comes from meeting people. I mean, I truly believe that I have not. I'm not spending enough time meeting companies and working with companies. So, in a way, I personally feel that my joy 10 years ago, where I would sit with companies and I would jam with them and talk about businesses, even new companies or existing companies, I am missing that a little bit, because now most of my meetings are with the team, with trying to build the next level organization, culture, etc., etc. I do take board seats, and therefore I would say my day would look more like some meetings with internal meetings, lots of reviews, unfortunately, and working with some of our portfolios where I am still particularly involved.
So, when you look at a typical week, what are the 3 or 4 buckets that consume 80% of your time? Internal reviews.
Lots of internal conversations with the team and portfolio work.
And when you, I mean, if I would let's say you're starting on today is a Friday when we're recording this, how much of your next week's calendar would be filled by now already? Or are you a calendar driven person? You have to be, I'm assuming.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's 100% already locked in.
Oh, it's 100% logged
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. So I think if you ask me what is a challenge or what is a regret, I don't have enough free space. So my thinking happens on the weekends. My desire to say, okay, clear the calendar and provide something, I do that, and then it gets filled up. And half the time I'm the culprit. Somebody will call up and say, I really need to talk to you, I need some advice. So in some sense, that empathy piece comes in the middle of it. Okay, this founder wants some time, how can I say no to them?
Got it. I'm sure you have your down days as well, and you've had your down days,
Yes.
like, over the years.
Yes.
How do you motivate yourself through the down days?
I think that's a good question. It takes effort. See, you see problem with your portfolio, it's like problem with your children. I mean, you can't do much, but you feel pain. You trying your best to solve for it, but honestly, you don't have all the answers. Or even internally, if you see challenges, what's happening. I think my motivation is that the bigger picture is so interesting, and I keep telling my team this, saying, it is for us to lose what we can become, because it is so exciting. And I've been talking about this for the last 2 hours, that there is opportunity, there is credibility, there is fun, excitement in helping work with great founders and build exciting businesses. So to me, that is the motivation, and that also becomes the the down day recipe, because I can see what is possible. And sometimes, when all these small internal things or small irritants happen, then you feel really frustrated. That
Over the years or now, are there people that you go to for help when you want to kind?
So that is a great question. I have a coach, and later in life, last 5 years, I realized that I think it's valuable to have a coach. So I have a fortnightly catch up with him, 2 hours, catching up. I have really benefited.
Now, this is interesting because you said earlier that one of your investee companies is in the mental health space.
Yes,
For how would you define to a, so there is this joke that executive coaching is just therapy for leaders,
yeah,
right? I'm just saying that what is the difference between therapy and executive coaching? Because even in executive
sure,
coaching, you are sort of
sure,
like, talking to your coach, you're telling
sure,
them where you're stuck.
sure,
Your coach is trying to help you figure out, have you really slowed down? Have you listened to? So there's a lot of
sure.
similarities with therapy.
So
What do you see are
again,
the differences?
I think at a very meta level, I would say therapy is, I feel, more about solving a medical issue. It could be depression, it could be addiction, it could be many other aspects. I think executive coaching has elements of vulnerability, has elements of being honest to yourself and to the person you're talking to, but it is in the context of a business situation. It is not a context of your own whatever mental health. So that difference is certainly very important. But if you are not willing to be open and you're not, like I said, be vulnerable and have that confidence that this person is trying to help me be a better version of myself, then it's not going to work. Because if some corporate is saying, listen, 2 hours in a month you have to spend with the executive coach because that is your path to success, it's never going to work. It's never worked.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I usually tell my colleagues that it's very hard for someone to help you if you don't want to be
Totally,
helped or if you
totally.
don't want help.
Totally.
I
So
mean,
I think it starts with self-awareness.
hmm,
Because if I say I don't have a problem, then then I'm saying you need therapy. Because then you need to dig into yourself first to say, I accept that I have a problem.
hmm,
Once you have a problem, you start looking for answers.
hmm,
So if you are saying, I want to go to a coach, but I might be saying, oh, I have been given this feedback, the 360 thing which was done, I have been given performance review, I have to work on these things. But in my heart, I'm saying, listen, I don't believe in all this. I mean, this is all. Then you will never,
it's a
find any
self-fulfilling. Yeah,
value
I
out
mean,
of
it's
it.
a
So,
downward.
so it is about self-awareness first, and then the desire that now that I believe or I agree there is a problem, I now want to solve for it.
Got it. Question is not specific to you, but in general, what is the trigger point for founders or executives when you feel that they're ready for executive coaching? Because, like you rightly said, many founders have this very strong thing of, I will figure out, because they're used to, I mean, like you use the concept of child. For many founders, it's like, I dreamt up this,
Yeah.
business when there was nothing. I hired the first 10 people. This has been around for 5 years, 10 years, and I have evolved and I can do it. Right. And, I mean, and there is this line when it comes to executive coaching that it's sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's an opportunity, but it's blurry. But it requires, the founder or the executive to essentially understand when they're ready for it. What are the times when you feel, I'm sure you don't say someone who's just starting a company, 1 year old, 2 year old into the organization, and they're just full of energy. You're probably not going to recommend an executive coach for them at that stage. But there comes a time when you'd probably recommend you should consider an executive coach. What is that point?
So, I mean, I haven't thought deeply about it, but I can, talk about from experience what I think could be trigger points. I think one trigger point could be some point of transition from who you are and what you should be. I mean, again, let's take the founder example. You have decided to become an entrepreneur, high energy, you've done something, you have reached a certain point. There is a very clear role reversal or role change that happens as you grow as a business and as a entrepreneur. how do you go from being a one man, I have the charisma, I have the passion, I have the desire to build something and I am running everything, to becoming a leader and then to becoming a manager. So I have to inspire people to do it and then I have to put systems and processes for things to happen. It's a very, very, I would say arduous and a very different journey. So there are those step changes at which executive coaching can really help, because it helps you unlock some capabilities or identify some gaps in your ability. So if I am a very high touch, high on hand entrepreneur, I have been great successful building a business, say 100 crores. I may become my own enemy in the growth of the business because I can't let that that characteristic go. So how do I build that muscle? I think that could be one trigger. I think second trigger is certainly feedback, but feedback given in a very authentic and in a very safe environment as a development feedback and not as a performance feedback, because then your resistance to that, saying, oh, this guy is after me, or I'm the victim. If you have a situation where you say, listen, this is something which is genuinely going to help you and you can really benefit from this. Interestingly, we have, I would say, 50% of my senior leadership has coaches. And once again, I don't know what the ratio, what the market stats is, but the fact that all of them are voluntary. So we don't have any requirement, any specific prescription. But we find that people are themselves in an environment where they believe they can achieve great things. They start recognizing that I want to work on a few things. So I think this environment of collaboration and safe environment of saying, I really want to help you succeed. And it's not that easy. All of us have biases. All of us have, our day-to-day things to worry about. But I have seen that it really works. So that is, short answer on the advisory piece. We also have a very strong advisory board. And I personally work very closely with two of the three people that are advisors. And so Harsh Maniwala is an advisor, but I go to him on a regular basis, but not pick up the phone and talk to him. So we have Sri Rajan, who used to be chairman of Bain Consulting in India. Amazing guy as a human being, but also so deeply understand India and understands the global opportunity. So great sounding board, both on people as well as on strategy issues. And the second guy is a very interesting person called Niren Chaudhary, who used to be the chairman of Panera Brands Worldwide. And before that, he ran Panera Brands as CEO, and before that with Yum Brands for 20 plus years. So a Fortune 50 executive running large companies based in the US. And he's, I don't want to talk too much because this is his prerogative. He's had some personal tragedies in life, which just makes him so empathetic to listening to you, to be able to give you good advice, and as a very senior leader of the industry can really help you think through how to solve problems or how to address things. So I feel, again, this is like almost a 101 for a founder or even for any of us, that having not just advisors on business specific issues, but even as individuals, how do we grow and react to things,
Got it.
has been a great learning for me. And a lot of this has happened during my Fireside journey. So that again has been a great...
Got it. How do you learn? My instinctive answer to that question myself from our conversation thus far is that it's largely through a lot of
people
that...
Yes. So I honestly, I'm very much conversation driven. So I will seek out people, I will go and meet people, and with a very genuine desire to learn, rather than so it's not a professional debate. It's saying, I have this problem, how can I solve for it? And I listen. So that certainly has been my, I would say, much more effective way of learning than reading, specific, textbook.
Got it. I mean, a question that just popped up in my mind because I've been seeing the number of times consumer brands and understanding of consumers comes up in the conversation is that over all these years of investing and meeting founders, if you are to reverse create the profile, and I understand that there's a certain amount of stereotyping here, the founder of a consumer brand versus the founder of any other, let's say a tech brand, because what is it that stands out in those who become successful consumer brand founders and CEOs? Is there something different?
See, honestly, I think to me, there is no pattern that I can say in my, let's say, last 150 companies that I have dealt with on both sides to say what made a good. Obviously, having a strong engineering background or ability to, think forward in terms of technology, etc., will be a positive, or think strong marketing. So those are
So
the
education
obvious
as in
ones.
grounding.
Grounding,
Got it.
experience, all that matters. But again, there is no commonality to say that is automatically a matter of success. So I have started looking at things slightly differently, and that's why that distinction becomes a little difficult for me. I am looking for, again, we talked about this, what makes a good founder kind of a thing. I look for purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? And very often that purpose informs you about the passion, and you try to assess the perseverance of this person in terms of saying willingness to face the ups and downs.
Got it. What would be that? Like, if you have to kind of average out the purpose across most of the founders that you've, what are some of the things that stand out at a common level?
Personal experience. Personal,
Something in their personal experience that drove their
something
purpose?
that drove. And maybe that could be one difference between a consumer and a tech. A consumer investors, a consumer entrepreneurs very often will have, like Mama Earth is a very classic case, well talked about, where they felt the need because their son, they wanted to get some products. Truly, like I said, have a young child. Mama Earth, Slurp Farm, again, two mothers wanting to get the best for their thing. So somewhere that connect of saying, here is a problem.
Human connect, a personal
So I have not done a, consulting style
I get
analysis.
it. No, but I was not asking for that. I was just saying that instinctively what stands out, and I kind of get it.
Yeah. But in a tech world, I would say it is probably the purpose comes from saying I want to do something breakthrough. I want to create something which has never existed before. So that could be the surrogate for purpose, versus purpose here is like, I'm trying to solve a problem which I'm seeing physically in my own context.
I'd come across this anecdote in one of your earlier interactions where I think you met someone, a young man in a tier 2 town who owned 10 pairs of jeans. What was it about that?
No, this was not me.
Oh, it wasn't you. Then
So
it's bad
this is
on
like,
my bad on research. then.
No. It's still in the same context. So I talked about research study that we did. So this research report that we published.
Okay. One of the ones that you referred
Yes,
to earlier.
so
Right.
we didn't just do a paper exercise. My colleagues, they actually went to these small towns, and they met consumers, and they went into their homes, and they saw their wardrobes. So this was a real incident where one of my colleagues actually went and saw the 10 jeans. But I was obviously referring to it in the context of saying aspirations and desire to consume is still very much in the tier 2 towns.
We're talking about fashion. I've seen fashion is now coming to the quick commerce space. Do you have a point of view on whether that works or not? Because I don't know. I'm just too old. One of the things is that whenever I don't understand any business, now I just tell myself, you're not the target customer. You're too old. This is not for you.
I'm older than you. I don't know, Rohin. Honestly, if you ask me, what is the strong conviction behind delivering something in 10 minutes? I really don't know. I think the problem with fashion is different. The problem with fashion is, how does it look on me? So if you can give me a model which says, I can bring you something in a time period which is acceptable, could be same day, could be next day, but in a convenient slot, where I can bring it to you, you try it. If it fits, it's not even a fit. It's about the look, it's the
Right.
fit, it's many things. That certainly has, the try and buy kind of a thing. I mean, that to me in fashion is probably a more important problem to solve. But can I get something in 10 minutes? Unless it's an emergency buy. It's not my regular buy. So, FMCG, especially in the food and beverages, I have a regular requirement. I need bread every day. I need eggs every day. I need milk every day. So, therefore, this 10-minute thing really works. But why would I, change my entire buying behavior unless it is essentials, I can buy
Right.
basic, garments, underwear, etc.
Got it.
So, I may be too old for this.
Got it. A slightly related question to that is, do you have a point of view on AI and agents in the context of shopping, transactions, e-commerce? Do you think that they are going to make any difference in how consumers purchase or businesses are disrupted or built, etc., over the next 3-4 years?
No, certainly. I think AI coming on the efficiency side is now well documented. Even on the purchase behavior side, I think the whole idea of personalization, better experience, being able to give you a much better. In fact, I believe now a lot of people are using the AI tools even for shopping assessment evaluation. In fact, yesterday I was talking to somebody at Amazon, and they said there is a significant amount of search happening on Rufus, which is their AI tool
Yes.
on Amazon to actually discover products. So certainly there is a role to play now. How deep will it go? Will it be so automated that I don't have to do anything? It'll all keep happening by itself. This whole, early IoT story where you said,
Right.
"Oh, my milk in the fridge is reducing. The fridge will order the thing." I don't know if
Yeah.
all that will happen, but certainly AI has a big role to play. And
Got it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your life?
very happy.
You have to give me a number.
10.
You're in your 60s now.
Yes.
How has your definition of success changed relative to when you were, let's say, in your mid 20s? What do you remember what it was back then, and what is it now?
I think back then was security. Back then was, making sure that, you're providing for the family, you can give them kids a good education, there is some money in the bank. How do you protect for your future? All of that. Today, it is all about legacy. Today, it's all about doing good. Genuinely believe that, at this stage of life, especially if you have the ability to do something which can be good for the world, good for your people, good for, the society. And it is just so fortunate that you can do that in the context of a professional setup where you are also able to deliver both success in the more conventional sense of great performance, great returns. So people believe that, you are delivering what you are promising to your stakeholders, but also doing good in the bargain. So, I mean, to me, can't ask for anything more exciting than that.
Is there something exciting that happened in the past week or few weeks that you're very proud of?
I went to a conference in Cotswolds in UK 10 days
Wait,
ago.
that's where the TV series is. There is this very famous. I'm forgetting the name. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. There is
I don't know
the second
which
season.
series.
I'll tell you.
But
I'll look it up.
Cotswold is a very popular.
It's very scenic
yes, it's
and very beautiful.
It's very
yes.
it was rolling hills.
That's
the
right,
British
that's right,
countryside. That's what you visualize.
Rivals.
Yes,
It's called Rivals.
Possible.
The
I have
TV
not seen
series.
it. But,
right, yeah.
I mean, if it's good, I'll see it.
It is.
So I attended a conference of a organization called Unreasonable. And this is a global organization set up by a very charismatic guy called Daniel Epstein, who believes that he can and has shown influence great good for the world by mentoring companies which are working in delivering impact and goodness, but in a very commercial, business sense. So they identify companies, they create cohorts, they then sign up mentors. I am a mentor. They have over 1,000 mentors worldwide. They do this across the globe. And they're funded by Barclays Bank and by other partners. So it's a non-for-profit. I mean, for profit, but not commercially,
Right.
taking any value. And they have a very organized way of how they can help these companies achieve success. Collectively, these companies over the last 10 years, I think there are 500 companies I've worked with, have delivered revenues of $20 billion, have raised money of $20 billion. But the impact they've created in energy, in food, in environment, in climate. So that was very inspiring because to me, that vision of that you can be good and be successful was, really epitomized by a real life example and with data. So, I mean, that
All right.
was very exciting. I mean, really exciting.
Which morning of the week do you look forward to? Is there a morning of the week that you look forward to the most?
I think probably, actually, it depends. I mean, how the week is shaping up, etc. I mean, Mondays we have internal meetings all day, so I don't look forward to that. So I can answer you which morning I don't look forward to.
All right. How do you spend your weekends?
So golf. I mean, at least Saturdays I try and get a round of golf if I can.
Is that your de-stress time?
That's my de-stress. Yeah, I mean, I can.
Where do you do your deep thinking?
I
Is
think
that also
typically not on the course, but certainly weekends is a more relaxed too. We don't socialize that much. It's not about having a calendar full of activities on the weekend. So it's really like it's just my wife and me. My kids are both out of the country, so we basically relax. And maybe that's also the prompt for thinking through some catch up on work, but the work catch up also triggers thoughts rather than just doing a small thing. My son has come back after 9 years in the US, so we are enjoying that time that he's here. He's figuring out where he wants to go next and what he wants to do. So sometimes that also is very exciting to have.
in some senses, when he came back, you and your wife have gone through the empty nest
for
syndrome.
a long time, for 9 years.
How was? I mean,
it's fascinating.
Were you prepared for the emptiness syndrome, or
I mean, first of all, my kids are 8 years apart. So it happened gradually. So daughter went in 2008, son went in 2016. So we had him for 8 years. So you kind of got used to it. And by the time he went, we were also different stage of life and, doing our own things, etc. But the interesting thing was when he came back, which is about 8-9 months ago, because having an adult child come home after 9 years is an amazing experience. I mean, it's a gift.
Yeah, it's the reverse of the
Yeah,
emptiness,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the
So,
fullness.
and he's
gift.
he's built his own life. All his formative years he was out of the home. So we are also discovering what he's all about, right? He loves food. He loves to cook. He loves to bake. So half the time. So now, in fact, the joy is that you have activity in the house.
If you were locked in a room for 24 hours without any internet, what would you do?
Wow. I really don't know. I mean, I'm not a big browser. I mean, so I can't say that I need.
But no connectivity.
Even connectivity is not necessarily,
What would you think?
Think, read. Honestly, I don't. If I look at my weekends, since that other question you asked, I mean, if you take out say 5-6 hours of golf, I would say I watch TV maybe a couple of hours over the weekend. So it's not that and maybe internet. Sometimes we're just going into a browsing mode. But
Right.
I mean, I would say an hour at most. So the rest of it is actually just chilling, relaxing. So I don't know if I would sit down and start thinking.
Got it.
The thoughts come and you kind of
Do you meditate?
build around. So not very formally, but I do yoga 3 days a week. So I guess in some sense trying to center myself.
Is there something that you've geeked out on recently? Some new hobby, some new discovery, something that is there anything like that at all?
No, not new. I'm saying I'm just like I said, passionate about golf. So that is always something
How many
new.
years have you been playing?
Almost 20 years now. I can't say I'm a very good player, but but
What does golf mean to you?
golf means in a way it's a release, in a way it's joy. So I wouldn't even say that it is my quiet time. I mean, I enjoy being in the company of friends who are playing. I'm very competitive, so it's not I'm mentally.
So you're not chill when you're playing.
No, I mean, I'm chill to
Yeah,
the
but-
extent that I'm having fun,
Hmm.
but I'm certainly being very competitive. So
Kanwal, thank you so much for this conversation. So wonderful having you.
no, this was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
If you've been a long-time listener to this podcast and are glad we're back, do tell the world by sharing this episode with everyone you think will find it valuable. This is me, Rohin Dharmakumar, signing off. We'll be back soon with another episode.